What is up guys, Andy Forrest Runner here, and today we're talking all about the New Balance Fuel Cell Rebel V2 after 100 miles. So there we go, today we wrapped up a 13.4 mile run, meaning we have taken the New Balance Fuel Cell Rebel up and over the 100 mile mark. In fact, we're at 109 miles in this shoe. So what we're going to do today, as we do always with our 100 mile reviews, is we're going to go through the wear and tear of the shoe, how I've been using the shoe, and then of course answering the important question, will I be using this shoe moving forwards? If you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll start with the wear and tear. So as I say with every single 100 mile review, at this stage in any shoe's life, you really don't want to be seeing any forms of major wear and tear. And again, in this shoe's case, it's all positive news, albeit the outsole is starting to show some small signs, a little bit more than I would have expected. But on the whole, the shoe is holding up really, really well. In terms of the upper, it is just dirty, to be quite honest with you. Other than that, we have absolutely no snags on this shoe whatsoever. Everything is holding up really nicely. If I show you down the front there, it is all looking dandy. In terms of the outsole with wear and tear, an outsole's as soft as this one, as you guys know, this is a super soft and bouncy outsole. One of the things that always springs to mind, no pun intended there, is how quickly will this compress and how long will it last? Well, I can safely say after 100 miles, the midsole is holding up really, really well. It's still got that spring, it's still got that bounce. It's still feeling really, really good. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the next section, in terms of how I feel about that midsole and a potential issue that is starting to cause me. But again, in terms of how it's holding up really, really well. Let's talk about that outsole very quickly. So we'll go from the heel here. So as you can see, everything looks really, really good. But as soon as you reach the forefoot area where I'm striking, well, I tend to be a midfoot striker and roll off. You can see in and around here, we have some of these small lugs, shall we say. I mean, they're like a millimetre deep, they're not really lugs, but the tread pattern is starting to wear off quite significantly. Now that is, it's not horrific, and I'm sure, well, I haven't felt it cause any detrimental effect to my running whatsoever, but I am surprised, I guess. And I think if you think back to things like the Pegasus or the Nova Blast or any other shoe really, you don't tend to see quite that much wear and tear on some shoes, other than in Hoka's, I guess. And I know some of you have commented on this before in previous videos, that the wear on the outsole is significant early on. Fingers crossed, just like I guess a lot of the Hoka's, it's just aesthetic and it's not performance related, because I can assure you it still feels really, really good at this stage after 100 miles. So how have I been using the New Balance Fuel Cell Rebel V2, and what's that issue that has started to creep in whilst using this shoe? Well, let's start with how I've been using it. It's been mainly longer speed efforts and shorter speed efforts, to be perfectly honest with you. Some moderate runs. I've ditched the shoe for easy runs because I've got a few shoes now in the easy rotation. Got the Nova Blast V2 now, got the Pegasus 38, both shoes we're trying to get up to the 100 mile mark. So this shoe is no longer reserved for easy stuff, and I didn't particularly enjoy it for easy stuff anyway, if I'm honest. So like, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but I just feel like this shoe is built for a little bit more than easy running, although it's a great all-round jack of all trades shoe. So moderate runs have been flavour of the month with this thing, and also, which is why it's got to 100 miles a little bit quicker than the Puma shoe, because those two came into my lineup very similar time, but I found I've been able to gravitate towards this thing for speed workouts, although I do slightly prefer the Puma to this shoe than speed workouts. This one has a bit more of an all-round feel to it. I feel like I can run moderate runs a lot better in this one than the Puma shoe, so that's why this one has got there a little bit quicker. So from the range of stuff, if you're talking easy all the way up to interval pace and long runs and everything in between, if we shorten it down and say this has been like moderate up to speed interval work, I haven't done too much longer stuff in this shoe, and that's going to be part of the thing we're going to talk about right now. In fact, today was actually one of the longer runs I've done in this shoe, 13.4 miles. I have reserved this for some of the shorter speed interval workouts. I find it works really well on the speedy stuff. Excuse me. I find that even trying to go fast in it is absolutely fine despite the soft foam, and those longer intervals are also great in this shoe. So I found a shoe that works for me for all the speed stuff. But what happens when we run long in this shoe? And I run quite a bit in this shoe. So I found a couple of weeks ago when I was using this a little bit more, and it was in the rotation a couple of times a week, that the bottom area of towards my ankle, the post tib area of my of the bottom of my leg was starting to hurt, and it was very reminiscent of the Peg Turbo 2 when the foam collapsed on me. So obviously the Turbo 2s are known for being relatively durable. Sadly, mine lasted 250 miles, and what happened with mine is the foam kind of just collapsed on the inside. It caved in. So as I was landing on the shoe, I was pronating way too much, causing excess stress around that post tib area, and I'm finding similar with this already. Now, disclaimer, I did have a sports massage at the beginning of this week, and I have run in this now today, and I have experienced zero issues. So I don't know if their sports masseuse has sorted my issue and this thing is and this post tib thing is now no longer an issue, or if running in this thing caused the post tib issue. I don't know. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't excruciating pain, it wasn't horrific, but I did find that I was pronating way too much. I was landing, rolling in much more. I was watching some of the footage on some of the workouts I was doing in lean. You could really see my ankle turn in. Some of the videos I posted on my Instagram account, I was watching them thinking, oh, that looks quite painful. And some of you picked up on it. A couple of you actually messaged me about it. You know who you are. And you were very, very right. So I have to be careful in this shoe. So what I'm going to do, now I've had the sports massage and I feel a lot better, and it didn't cause me any issues today, is that I'm just going to sort of tread carefully with this thing at the moment and see how it goes and kind of limit its use, I think. But in terms of how I've been using it, it's mainly moderate, mainly speed work, and it's done really, really well. So I've just kind of alluded to the answer now of this final section, which is, will I be continuing to use this shoe moving forwards? Now, pre 50 miles, I would have 100% said, yes, oh my God, this is such an exciting shoe. I absolutely love it. It is right up there for shoe of the year. It's a great contender. It's been a breath of fresh air into my rotation. But now, since the 50 to 100 mile mark, which is when I experienced some of those issues, it's kind of made me a little bit hesitant to kind of say that now. It's still a fantastic shoe. As I've just said, I've really, really enjoyed it. But I'm a little bit worried that if I use it too much, I'm going to start to experience issues like I did with the Peg Turbo 2. Now, with the Turbo 2, I was really stupid. I pushed it too far. It started to collapse around. I actually had a bubble in the foam around this area here, and if I pushed it, the foam was popping and it was like collapsing. Granted, it was the other shoe. This is the left foot. The Turbo 2 was on the right, but that was causing, this collapse here was causing my foot to roll in way too much. And so that happened around 200 miles. I ran another 50 miles in that shoe, and I was doing 20-mile long runs. I did 3 20-mile long runs back to back to back in the Turbo 2, which really aggravated things. Granted, it didn't turn into a full-blown injury, but it was sore. It was sore for a couple of weeks. So I'm determined not to let that happen with this, and I think I've spoken to a few of you and said, look, if shoes give you issues or pain, then you just have to be a little bit wary. You just have to kind of tread carefully with it. And you also have to fathom out, it could be the shoe, or it could be other factors. It could be you compensating for an injury, but then the shoe doesn't help it. But when that injury is resolved, like I've had a sports massage, is the issue then gone, or will the issue come back because it was actually the shoe that caused the issue? Makes sense? That was a bit of a, but you know what I mean. So I just need to be careful with this shoe. So in answer to the question, yes, I'm going to continue to use it moving forwards, but I think I'm going to limit it to once a week, if that. I now want to prioritise getting the Puma up to 100 miles. So this one might not see the light of day for a couple of weeks. I don't know. It probably will, but it's going to be used sparingly, and I'm going to be careful with it. And then what I'm going to probably do at some point is reintroduce it a little bit more, because it is a shoe that I really, really, really enjoy, and I actually could run like this shoe and the Nova Blast. I kind of feel like just a great dynamic combination to have in your rotation. If you could only have a couple of shoes, both of them together are absolutely fantastic. So I'd love to use this more. but I'm just going to tread carefully. So I hope that answers that question. I'm really still excited by the shoe. I'm delighted with how it's holding up. I'm confident in saying the foam is still holding up great. And I think by the time, if I got to 200 miles in this shoe, it would still also feel really, really great. But I just need to go carefully. And what I would love to do is I'd love to know if you guys have suffered that issue, because obviously I've picked up the Rebel a little bit later than some of you. So I know a lot of you guys have put more miles in this shoe than I have. I'd love to know if you've experienced similar. Is the softness in the foam causing you any issues? I know I'm a neutral shoe runner. I find stability shoes cause me issues, but I do have that gammy right foot. It does turn out when I run. That's down to weak glutes and things. And, you know, I'm finding that this shoe might be exacerbating that issue slightly. Who knows? So let me know in the comments below if you found the foam too soft, if you couldn't handle it, if you started to notice niggles coming in, or if you've been absolutely fine with it, what mileage you're on and how it's holding out. Because I think what a lot of people would love to know is if some of you out there have 200, 300, 400 miles in it already, which I'm sure some of you do, how is the foam holding up? I'd love to know if it's at 200, 300, 400 and still going strong. In fact, I'm sure everyone would love to know. So that's my update for the New Balance FUELCELL Rebel V2. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that kind of explains my position with the shoe. It's a shoe that I really, really want to love and really don't want to drop out of the rotation, just like the Mach 4, but I just have to tread carefully with it moving forward to make sure that none of these issues come back. There we go. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.